Hello, everybody. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. Well, today we have the second theory class about um, the reading section. So let's check about. Okay. Um, let's make a fast summary. You know that in the reading section, some people say that you have to go one by one and maybe answer question by question. And some other people said that it's better if you can read the first, the complete lecture, the complete passage, the first. Okay, so it's always depending on you. Okay, usually the whole passage, the whole lecture, is about 3 minutes reading or 4 minutes, five maximum. But also depends on how fast you read. Okay, and you understand what are you reading. Okay, so if you're not good understanding uh, in a fast reading, so it's a good idea to go by question by paragraph, question paragraph, question paragraph. So the knowledge you get in each paragraph is according what you have. But to get a general context about all the lecture, it is a good idea to start reading completely, very, screaming very fast. Okay, so to get the context about what you're saying. Okay, so it makes you get the full idea. Okay, now as it says, the better approach for intermediate level students. It means that according to your level, it's how much information you can get from that first scheme. Now, you have to manage your time, so don't skip questions. When I say don't skip questions, is the questions go in order of the text. It will harder to go back. Okay, if you, yes, you can go like, I want to answer first the question number 3, and then I go to question number 10, and then I go to question number 1, and then to question 7. You can scroll down and you can play with it, but remember, better organized is a better understanding you have. Okay, so it is a good idea to go question by question, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Okay, because at the time you have the opportunity to scroll down and skip questions and then go back to those questions. But just for fun, it's not a good idea. Okay, only if you get stuck with what question, move on. Let's go to the next question. Okay, you feel that in this question you cannot answer, like, oh, I don't understand, click something and go back. But you remember, you mark in a piece of paper, whatever, you have to go back to this question at the end when you finish. So you can check again if you can find the correct answer. Okay. So don't be jumping around. So I said, don't be this and this and that and that. Okay. When you finish completely and you have enough time um, to do it, because you have only 20 minutes to answer all the passage. If you have enough time, review your answers. Go back and by checking it. This one. They usually the first answer you choose usually is the correct one. Okay, because it's the first. But it's okay if you can revise and check that you answered correctly. Okay, it's like, yeah, you can revisit. It is okay. Usually they don't recommend that change the answer, but only if you are really sure that the other answer is the correct one. So change it because you already know. But if you're not sure, like, should I change or not? What I do, leave it like that. Okay. Maybe that is the correct answer. Maybe. Okay. Now, what can we do, or how can we find the correct answer? We have three options. I have three options here. I say in like we have in many of the questions they have, well, I think in all the questions they have distractors when unless they have the match question, but in this kind of questions they have distractors. Okay, remember the mostly of them are multiple choice, and this one of them is like we could say that is the easiest one, or it sounds similar, so I have that is a distractor, and you might have incorrect answer there. So how can I identify? For example, in this example, D is an homophone. I mean, sounds similar. Yeah. So you have to note how proponents and professionals both start with the prefix pro. Okay. So the sound pro might get you confused. So my sounds similar. This is the correct one. Yeah. So this gives each word the same first syllable sound. However, do not conclude that professional is the correct answer simply because it sounds like proponents. It is not. It is an homophone distractor. Okay, not always have the same meaning, and no, it's not what they are asking for. For example, the question says in paragraph 1, proponents is closest in meaning to, and you will say proponents, associates, opponents, supporters, professionals, proponents. Could be this one because sounds similar, starts similar. Okay, I choose. It is a distractor. Sometimes are kind of silly, these distractors, and some other times are very difficult to identify. Okay, so for that you need to know what a suffix is and what a prefix is. Okay, also what an affix. So here, don't confuse. For example, it says in the warning here, do not make an answer choice based on sound. For example, night and night sound exactly the same, but have completely different meaning. So you don't get to get confident about it. When the distractor had a suffix, when it means at the end of the word, remember that the prefix goes at the beginning of the word, and the suffix goes at the end of the word, right? So what does allotment mean? A distractor can also be identified by its suffix. A suffix is a word ending such as meant. The suffix meant means condition of. For example, excitement means the condition of being excited. If the highlighted word has the same suffix as one of the four choices, that choice is the homophone distractor. For example, here, what does allotment mean? Peace, ancient, firmament, modern. Here, the distractor, we say, what does allotment, firmament? Sounds similar. Could be, but no, it is a distractor because sound similar. Okay, and this suffix is similar. And the correct answer is peace. After you identify the distractor, you start the process of elimination to narrow down your choices. So you have to start by identifying antonyms. An antonym is a word with the opposite meaning. For example, be here, opponents is an antonym. The prefix op means opposite, right? Therefore, be is not correct. Okay. So the context supports this conclusion. If we go back to the reading, I think it's this part. And it says, Rousseau and Voltaire leading proponents of the European Enlightenment. And there's proponents in that part. So Rousseau and Voltaire were not against, they were opponents of the European Enlightenment. Instead, they questioned traditional institutions and monarchies. If they questioned the king, they challenged his political ideas. So this infers that they, I mean Rousseau and Voltaire, opposed the king's political authority. Therefore, B is an antonym of proponents. Proponents, opponents. Let's set this up. Okay, and here, you know, now you have two choices left. A is off topic because Rousseau and Voltaire were part of the European Enlightenment. They were indeed associates. However, their association is not a topic. They don't talk about that, so it's not about it. The topic is Rousseau and Voltaire and the European Enlightenment versus traditional institutions and monarchies. If Rousseau and Voltaire were opposed to traditional institutions and monarchies, then we can infer that they were supporters of the European Enlightenment. Therefore, C is correct. Right? So here, when it says associates, we are not talking about the association, right? In the reading, it's not closest to the topic. What it says, their association is close about the Enlightenment. They don't mention anything. Okay, so only to make reference. And also here, professionals, proponents. We use the same idea about the prefix pro, professionals, proponents. The homophone is similar, right? So here we can know that this is a destructor. Then opponents is the opposite of proponents. So again, eliminate that answer. And associates that it doesn't have anything to see with the topic, it is eliminated. So therefore, supporters is correct. So we say the last class, we were talking about that they lead supporters, they lead proponents. Okay, so with this, you can eliminate your answers in this when you're talking about the meanings, and then you can start giving the ideas of it. Okay. Now, in this task, we have also seen we had different types of questions. You remember, we had a multiple choices, we have these things. Okay, so let's see a little detail of it. There are vocabulary questions. We call vocabulary questions when they have the highlighted word. The usual, when they have one word highlighted, it is usually the vocabulary about. Usually, there are between 2, 5 every passage. Okay, there's a frequency. So you will see very frequent. Uh, they are asking for the synonym of a word that matches both in meaning and context. So they are looking for something similar. It is important to understand the idea of the paragraph and sentence where the word is. So, as I said the last time, it's a good idea to start reading from point to understand the context that surrounds that word. Also, we have a detailed or factual question. In this case, you need to find information. Okay, it's a fact directly or indirectly stated in the passage, and say something that is, we could say something real. You will see between 2 or 4 per passage. Remember, in every passage, you will see between 12 to 14 questions. You need to find the keyword in the question or in the options. Remember, the last time we said that if you find the signal word in there, from the question and from the passage, so you can relate the answer to this. So do quickly skim, start reading quickly, looking for the keyword or synonym of them. Okay? Very quickly, don't spend too much time. Is to only find that word. Because remember, if you did a very first reading, a scan of the complete lecture, it will be easier for you to find these words. Even though in the question they say it could be related to, in paragraph this, what does the word mean? Something is related. This is kind of the difficult ones, that is except type of question. When it says except or not, they ask about info that's not in the passage, and you will see 1 or 2 per passage. That is not so frequent, but there is a. Here, how can you answer? Well, this again, you need to do by elimination, eliminating options, by identifying the options that are in the passage. So you one by one, read it once and skim quickly. If there is in the passage, eliminate. Go by another quickly and eliminate till you get the correct option. Sometimes you need to find some synonyms for that sentence or for the word that in the passage it mentioned it, but with a different word. So you have to be open to identify some synonyms. Bless you. There are others that are inference questions. You need to infer. Here you will find 2 per passage every time. They ask about implied info. It is not directly information. Okay. So for that, you need to read the paragraph or between the lines to come to a conclusion from the given info. Here, you need to use your logic. It's very logic. So we have to be careful because it is depending on how you understand what you are reading. Okay, because that is about what you imply, what you infer from that reading. Okay, if you infer wrongly, well, and that could be will be a problem. Yeah, so because you need, that's why you need to read carefully to understand the words between lines. Okay, be careful with that. The purpose questions, you will see 1 or any per passage. They are not frequent. They ask about the author's choices, directly about what the author or the person reading things. It is related to the question to the overall picture. So it asks you about the complete lecture. Here you had to look at the main idea of the paragraph, the sentence, or the article as a whole, complete. And how does the word, sentence, or fact contribute to that function? Okay. Here you need to also understand what you're reading, because you need to identify what is the main purpose or what is the main function of, the main idea of all the lecture. We can say, we can answer the question, what is the purpose of this lecture, from, all that. Okay. Another that you can use by synonyms is like using the paraphrasing questions that are not very common. You have one or not or any. Here we have restate the sentence, saying it again in different words. Remember that paraphrasing is repeating the statement, but with different words, with a different, different words. Saying the same, but different words. Don't choose answers that are missing information or that include information not mentioned in the original sentence. Remember, here is paraphrasing. There is not asking about opinion. Okay, so be careful to include more information about the same topic or other topic, because it won't be the correct answer. Be aware of switch roles and relationship. In the first, maybe first answer, the girl says something, but in the lecture, the one who says that is the man. Could be. So you have to pay attention who is, or who um, is referring to in the lecture, because in the question it might say um, the girl, or the professor or something. Now, here, because it's not very common, it isn't necessary to read the entire passage to answer. Okay, because if you read it, it could be a little tricky. Okay, you can confuse if you do it. These ones are more for the ones that you can do at the end. You can maybe put a mark like, okay, this one is paraphrase, so I will do at the end, so I know the complete context about all. So when I answer, I will know what is it about. Making reference. Here is what does it, this, those, that, they, him, etc. Any pronoun refers to. So you need to read one or two sentences before the pronoun to find the noun. You're making some reference. Again, we do the same thing here. That's why I always tell you that when you find a word, or when you need to make reference to something, you have to understand a word, the meaning of some words. Read from point to point, so you can understand the context that involves all that word, and it happens mainly. Um, the summary questions is 80%. It will be your last questions. Remember the last we did about what is the mercantilism about, and what is about the math something. Yeah, something like that. So it is to summarize. You have to drag, to click on and drag to the correct position. Normally, it is the last question, unless you have a category question, depending on. Here, you summarize the main ideas of the passage. You have to choose straight. To answer this, you must have understood the whole passage. To this point, answering question by question, you might read the complete passage. But if you didn't, uh, you can do right now very quickly another skim to the passage you can understand. So in that case, you can answer properly that question. And this kind of question is how it is good idea to start reading the complete passage. Okay, depending, because at that moment you get the context, you get the idea of everything. But again, also depends on you. If to this point you haven't read a complete passage, you might do it right now, but quickly, and you can check the time. Maybe you have enough time to do it, and there is no problem. Yeah? But you already have finished the other questions, and so you have enough time to do it. And the last is like category questions, and here the 20% it will be your last question, or it is a summary questions or a category question. Okay, but you might have both. For example, the last example we did the last Tuesday, Tuesday, we have both. No, we have the summary questions and the category question about mercantilism in this. Um, Here you need to match details to larger topics. The order doesn't matter either here. You only click and drag to the place, and that's it. So you might want to look back at the passage. You may need to match small details to large topics. Look for the ones that stand out. So choose the easy answer, please. Okay. So with that, you have the mainly type of questions and how to answer. Right. Yeah. Till here, do you have any question? Questions? Questions? Nope. Okay. So when we have here, it is a good idea that we can understand how to identify the transitional words, because at the time that we are doing the reading, we can identify where does main idea starts or where does an information start. Okay, so for that, in all the TOEFL test, it has a lot of transitional words. But what is a transitional word? This one, the transitional word, are called also linking words or signal words. Yeah. So all of them helps you to connect ideas or to introduce ideas to the writing, to speaking, to any kind of thing that you do, and helps to understand what are the main things that you want to express. So it's not, this one is not only for the reading section. This will help you for all the TOEFL, okay, to identify them. Now, let's see some categories about the transitional words. For example, we have to add extra information, okay? And here we have some examples like and, also, additionally, alternatively, and then, apart from, as well as, besides that, coupled with, equally important, finally, first, second, third, etc. Following this, furthermore, indeed, in addition, in addition to, in fact, lastly, but not least, last but not least, likewise, moreover, not only, but also, not to mention, or, then, to, what is more. Okay, so this kind of words is to introduce more information, extra information. Okay, so when you are expressing something, or when the lecturer is expressing something, they will start giving something like this. No, like saying, likewise, the speaking section, the TOEFL IBT writing papers are sent to the ETS online scoring network, where they are scored by certified readers. So he will introducing more information. You know? So the usual ones that you might always use, the common ones are, for example, moreover, furthermore, in addition, and also as well. So you can see all this in a normal essay or speech. So if you don't want to be repetitive, or if you don't want to be like the usual, like they use the same words, you can use a lot of, you have more to use. No, so you can start checking the practicing with different words, and that increases your vocabulary. Remember that purpose of the TOEFL is to demonstrate that you can use advanced words, not only the common ones. Okay, so the most you practice with advanced words, the most points you get. Okay, so the raters, prefer people that use advanced words than the normal ones. It doesn't mean that you get a very low score if you use basic vocabulary. Also depends on how good you express the idea and the communication and all that thing. But it is true that if you use advanced vocabulary, you will get a better score. That is true. Okay, so if you are not used to sorry, if you are not used um, to use this type of words, it's time to start practicing and get used to. Okay, just practice. Then we have another, like, to give examples. No? Like, for example, as an example, chiefly, for instance, especially, illustrated with. In this case, in another case, in particular, in this situation, including, markedly, namely, notably, on this occasion, particularly, in particular, specifically, such as, take the case of, to demonstrate, to illustrate, as an illustration, is to introduce an example. Okay, so the normal ones, like the common, always use, for example, as an example, to illustrate, as an illustration. Okay, so as the normal one. So at that point, in the common essays, you will see this one, the to illustrate, for example, as an example. They like those ones. So you might have change. You have to change for a different one. No. Now, in the example, it says, most of English language exams are divided into separate parts that test different language components. For example, TOEFL, IBT, etc. So this, for example, could be changed for in another, like separated for the different language components. Particularly, TOEFL, IBT has 4 sections and etc. Yeah. In this case, TOEFL, IBT has 4 sections. You know? Chiefly, TOEFL, IBT has 4 sections. In this case, you start giving the other example. Another way to identify that you are using these signal words is because they are between or they have a comma next to them. Yeah. In that case, you will see that using it. Not always, but very often. Okay. Then, to clarify the information you have presented, you know that clarifying is to restate what you're saying in a different word. No? The common one that you said is I mean, or what I mean is, da, da, da. For example, above all, I mean, in other words, in this case, that is to say, to put it in another way, under certain circumstances, up to a point, what I mean is, and you can use it the same. To put it in another way, five are components that you should pay attention while preparing for any English language test. So in there, you can use another to clarify. No, it's like saying, um, I don't know, something like something silly. Like yesterday, my wife spent money on me on my dinner. Um, to put it in other words, she bought some pizza for me, and that I'm clarifying that what why she spent money. No, silly example, but that's an example. Okay, then consequence. Remember that consequence answer the question the why. Answer is given that. So it is a result of something. Accordingly, as a result, consequently, for this reason, for this purpose, hence, in that case, otherwise, so then, subsequently, therefore, thus, thereupon, under those circumstances, wherefore. The ones that they like, for example, could be hence, thus, consequently, subsequently. You know, the ones that are not common. No? Because therefore, wherefore, thereupon, so then, accordingly, they might be a little common. Okay, so you should use a different one. And the example says, as a result, most ESL books and training programs are organized around this kind of division and closely follow this form. To generalize, as the name says, is to make it general, talking about general information and facts. As a rule, as usual, for the most part, generally speaking, ordinarily, and usually. Yes, generalizing the thing, no big deal. And this one, this is a very important one, that is the compare and contrast. Here, yeah, you need to pay attention to this. You need to practice more these ones because in the most parts of the TOEFL test, you have tasks to compare. Yeah, so you need to use different words to compare. There are a lot of tasks that requires you to compare things. So it's a good idea to practice a lot of things to in a comparison way, in a contrasting thing. Okay, and not always using the in contrast to compare, that is common, or using however. No, because however represents the topic, but is very used. A lot of people use them. However, it's very repetitive. So instead of using however every time, you can use a different one. You know? So, but by the same token, by the way of contrast, conversely, equally, however, in contrast, in like manner, instead, likewise, and nevertheless, in one hand, On the other hand, on the contrary, rather, similarly, still, though, whereas, while, in jet. Now, here, I don't know if you know how to use though. Do you know how to use though? Someone has the idea of how to use though? No? My cell phone is very old. It works though. I'm saying, I'm giving a comparison about my cell phone is old, no? But still works. Yeah. So I'm saying one bad thing about my cell phone and one good thing. I'm contrasting. Okay. So here the though goes at the end of the contrasting idea. I'm gonna write it here. My cell phone is very old. It still work. Still works though. It still works though. Yeah. So with this though, I am saying aunque my cell phone is very old, aunque todavía funciona. Okay. And also this jet. Do you know the jet? How to use jet? Can you give an example?
It can be like, I'm going to the party, but I'm not ready yet. Like that.
Okay, that is the common one, but no, that is not the useful here in comparing and contrast.
Mhm.
Yeah, they use differently. Okay, here is to compare also and to make it a contrast. Okay, for example, you said I'm not ready yet, right? I'm not ready yet. We go to the party, but I'm not ready yet. Okay, here this one means aún, right? Now this yet means the same thing here, aunque o a pesar de. Okay, so here, like saying, tell me a name. Sophia. Is there a Sophia here? No. So she won't get mad. Sophia. Um, I don't know. Sophia broke up with her what? Her boyfriend. Loves him. Here again, comparing. Sophia broke up with her boyfriend, yet she loves him. That yet is introducing a contrasting that they broke up, but still she loves him. Yeah. So we're contrasting here. And you will see this yet in a very common passages during the TOEFL. Yeah. So you won't confuse. Yeah. How can you identify? Because this yet goes in the middle of two clauses. Okay, always in the middle of two clauses. So you can recognize because of that. And the aún Yet goes at the end, right? So be careful with it. And those are the not common ones. Um, Also, I will recommend you. Have you seen the videos on the of the connectors? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I
You
do.
remember the fanboy?
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
So check
Yeah.
it again, and that jet is there.
Yeah, I have here.
Mhm. So there is the fanboy, and that they explain in that video. You can see it, and you can check how to use all that fanboys and the contrast and things, because jet is very important part of that. So you will see at the time of the at every passage. Okay. Now let's continue. Now here we have to present sequential information. As the name says, a sequence, 1, 2, 3, etc. So it says afterward, at first, at the same time, earlier, first of all, first, second, third, last, lastly, for now, for the time being, in the first place, in time, in turn, later, later on, meanwhile, next, the next step, the meantime, then, to begin with, soon, simultaneously, while. It says simultaneously, vocabulary and grammar are tested in context. Mhm. So we have here like the most common ones you will see every time, first, second, third, etc. Also at the beginning of each paragraph, you will see it. And the examples, first, my friend said, da, da, da. Second, da, 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 da. Say that. Also in your speech, in your task, you can use one of this, okay, to start every paragraph you prepare. Mhm. And the last but not the least, we have to summarize the ideas, and mostly you can find it at the end on the conclusions. It says, after all in all things considered, altogether, as a final point, briefly, by and large, finally, in a word, in any case, in any event, in brief, in conclusion, in short, in summary, in the end, in the final analysis, in the long run, lastly, on balance, on the whole, overall, to conclude, to put it briefly, to sum up, and to summarize. You will see to sum up, to summarize, finally, in brief, in conclusion, in summary, in the end, you will see most of the time. Okay. So again, if you don't want to be repetitive, try to use a different one. How would you do that? Practicing. Okay. Always you can get used to practicing. Start practicing by yourself. Yeah. Start writing about whatever you want. Like the last movie you saw, that the last food you ate, I don't know, whatever you want. And you start giving some essays. So you get used to how to collocate those words in your speech. Okay, so once again, using transitional words and phrases help you write or speak, organize your thoughts in more logical and understandable way. Transitional words clarify the conjunctions and transitions between ideas and thoughts, and thus facilitate the reader or listener's comprehension. From that perspective, the right usage of transitional words will pay you back with better score on your TOEFL IBT test. So you had to be careful and use it better. Here we have a recipe. Do you like to cook? Have you tried a banana pizza? It is delicious. You should try. And here is the recipe. And it says, some people love, well, let's read it. Carla, can you read it, please?
Yes. Some people love banana pizza. Yes, it sounds crazy. However, almost everyone who's tried it is a fan. In fact, banana pizza is really popular in Sweden. Here is
Sweden.
how to. Okay, continue.
Yes, please.
Here is how to make it. First, dissolve a package of yeast and 1 teaspoon of sugar. In 1 cup of warm water, add 1/2 for, it's okay?
A quarter.
A quarter cup of canola on oil, oil and a dash of salt. Slowly strain in 3 middle, it's
Three
okay?
halves.
3 half, 3 half
Halves.
cups of halves
Mhm.
of flour. A salt loaf will form. Continue.
Yes, please.
Meanwhile, preheat the oven to 45, 45, no, yes,
450.
430 F. Then transfer the dough to flour surface and knead it until it becomes smooth. And slick, put in a bowl, cover and set the bowl in a warm place. In about 45 minutes, it will boil. Double, double,
Double.
double.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So it says here, when said, some people love banana pizza. To introduce a comment, say, yes, it sounds crazy. Is introducing the idea. It sounds crazy. Yeah. So it opens the way that introducing the name, the word, yes. However, almost everyone who's tried it is fan. In fact, banana pizza using in fact is to introduce another comment, no? Introducing a fact. Banana pizza is widely popular in Sweden. Here is how to make it. First, it starts the first paragraph, introducing in the first paragraph. Dissolve a package of yeast and 1 teaspoon of sugar in 1 cup of warm water. Add a quarter cup of canola oil and a dash of salt. Slowly stir in 3/2 cups of flour. A soft dough will form. In here, Ian saying something in sequence. Meanwhile, preheat the oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Then transfer the dough to a flour surface and knead it until it becomes smooth and elastic. Put it in a bowl, cover, and set the bowl in a warm place. In about 45 minutes, it will double. Next, press half the dough into a greased 12-inch pizza pan. Now you must decide if you want to make a savory pizza or a sweet pizza. For a savory pizza, spread the dough with tomato sauce, add banana slices, and top with curry powder. You may want to use other ingredients, smoked cheese and or ham, for example. Here introducing the example, you see? And the word for example could be at the beginning of the example or at the end of the example, depending on how do you express it, okay? But never in the middle of the example. Alternatively, you can make a sweet pizza. Spread the dough with peanut butter, follow with banana slices, and sprinkle with brown sugar. Top with crushed peanuts or equally good, maple syrup. Bake for 10 minutes. Finally, eat. Yummy, yummy. Sounds crazy, I know. To be honest, I never tried, so but sounds tasty. Okay, so till here, do you have any question? Any doubt? So far? Mm. There is a little survey in your screen. Please answer. Okay, thank you. So if you don't have any other question, thank you so much for stay. You have a question? Tell me, tell me.
Yes, I have a question. Well, this is the first time I'm taking the exam, and I would like to know if I can go back to the questions. I was, for example, in the first part, in the first reading, you said that we cannot answer maybe if we are not sure about the answer.
You can go scrolling up, scrolling down for all the questions. You can play around. It's not recommended. Why? Because you can get lost. Okay. So you can do it. For example, if you get stuck with one question, go to another one. So when you finish, you go back to this question. Okay. But if only if you get stuck, but not like, okay, I start with the question 9. No, no. Go sequence. Go to sequence. But if you get stuck maybe in the question 5, pass it. When you finish, but obviously marks in your piece of paper or wherever, go back to question 5 because you didn't answer and you forget. Okay. So you remember you have to go back to that question. Okay. So is there any other question? No? So thank you so much. Have a nice, a beautiful evening and see you next class.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye, sir.